friends. It's your girl, Jen with baggage. Wait, Jen has baggage. I don't even know the name of my own channel, bro. I am literally, my mind is just gone. How are you? I'm doing great. Still unemployed. Still doing not anything. I'm just kidding. I have been sending out applications left and right. I have been getting rejections left and right for jobs that I qualify for, but I already went over this in my last video, so I'm not going to do that to you guys in this video. That's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is to tell you guys about the things I learned when I was staying in San Jose, Costa Rica. And I really, really miss it. I am literally just trying to make it. It's not working. Anywho, stick around because these are some tips actually that you could probably use on your next trip to San Jose, Costa Rica, if and when you decide to go. I don't know your life, but my life is all about travel. So here we go. I'm not even going to stall. I'm going to get right to the first point. Number one, people don't greet on the street. And what I mean by that is people, when you pass by people in Costa Rica, they're very keepy to themselves. They're very much like getting on with their own life. Like in America, if you walk by someone on the street, they'll be like, oh, hey, what's up? You know, kind of talking to you, saying good day, blah, blah, blah. But in Costa Rica, they don't do that. They will just pass by, you know, going about their day. I love that because that's so me. Like, that is so me. I don't like, I'm just doing what I need to do. Don't bother me. Don't talk to me, especially being a female. I don't really like it when strange people come up to me and try to engage in conversation. I'm kind of like, what do you want? You know, what do you want from me? And yes, I'm drinking coffee at 5:15 at night because my life is so crazy right now that I am not on a regular sleep schedule at all. Like my sleep schedule is literally screwed. I'm going to try to fix my microphone for you guys. By the way, I'm not editing these videos anymore. I literally don't care. So you're going to have to deal with some of this stuff along the way while I try to figure it out. Anyway, all right. But yeah, they don't talk to you on the street. So if you go up to somebody and try to say hello, like they'll smile and whatever, but they'll also kind of look at you weird. And I don't know if that's just a San Jose thing, because I've also visited like the beach towns in Costa Rica before, and it was a little bit different than that. But every area of every country has different behaviors, right? So if you're in the city, that's what'll happen. You don't expect to be greeted if you walk by someone on the street. It's like a beautiful day out and they're just keep on walking. Just don't even look. Don't even look at them. Okay. Second one. It's buenas, not buenos dias. Now, that's not always the case before before all you Ticos and Costa Ricans come at me saying that's not true. It's not 100% true. Sometimes people will say buenos dias. Sometimes people will say buenas. I would always say buenas to people in the hallway and outside, because that's typical. They just shorten everything. You know, they shorten buenos dias. They say buenas because it's quicker. You're passing by somebody in the hallway, buenas, you know. But yeah, so that's interesting because I didn't know that, and I've visited multiple Latin American countries before, and that's the first time I ever experienced that. So maybe it's a Costa Rican thing. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you know more about the culture than I do, and tell me why that is, because that's something I found very interesting, and something later on in the video I'm also going to share with you that I found very interesting about the language. But moving on. Early bed, early rise. So Costa Ricans go to bed very early, around like 9 p.m. I think 9 p.m. is the time most of them go to bed, at least, you know, working Costa Ricans or whatever. So they go to bed at 9, 10 p.m. They get up at like, 5. I couldn't believe how early stuff started in Costa Rica. Like I heard construction at 6:30 in the morning. And I'm like, what is going on? Like in America, In America, if that happens, somebody would literally lose their shit and be like, you're not allowed to do that until 9 a.m. or whatever. But yeah, and then I would hear, you know, cars, traffic on the road at 6:30 in the morning. And that's kind of common here if you have to commute or whatever, but it's like the majority there. It's very early rising. And you know why I think that is? Because the sun sets at like 5:45 in San Jose and it rises at like 5:45 in the morning. So I feel like because of that, because of the solar timetable, it kind of makes people's circadian rhythms change. And so yeah, they definitely go to bed early in the city. You know, I'm not in this video, I'm not talking about the tourist towns. Keep that in mind. I'm not talking about Tamarindo. I'm not talking about Playas del Coco. I'm not talking about freaking any of that. I'm talking about like the major city where the locals live and work and whatever. It's a very interesting dynamic. So if you visit San Jose, a lot of the people and a lot of the businesses will stay open late, but there won't be anybody out. They'll all be in bed, you know, early. And then they get up very early too. So if you're staying in like a hotel or a condo and there's construction going on, like expect to hear power drills and everything at like 6 in the morning, because that's what they do. That's how early they start work. Next, stores open later. And this was something I wasn't prepared for when I went there, because the last time I went there, I was on actual vacation and I woke up really late. But I woke up, like I said, around 6:37 in the morning, and I would look online to see what stores are open, if there was any stores or restaurants I could go to get food. And literally there was one restaurant in the area that would open at like 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. All the rest of them open like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. The grocery stores usually open at like 9 a.m. So that's kind of normal, but nothing is open 24 hours. At least not what I saw. I'm sure there's stuff that's open 24 hours somewhere, but not what I saw. So if you go there and you're an early riser, be prepared to like wait a few hours before you can go out to get food or go out to the grocery store or just go out to do anything, because they don't open early. There's only a very, very, very select few places that open early, and they're usually dedicated to breakfast. So I would always get the Tico breakfast, you know, like gallo pinto and maduros and, you know, everything like that. And there were like 2 or 3 places that would open at like 7 or 8. Everything else, like give yourself room to chill, because nothing opens early. It's 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. is the normal like opening time for all the places. So just prepare yourself for that. Next one, Uber. Yes, there is Uber in San Jose. Is crazy cheap. I'm not talking about cheap like $10 cheap. I'm talking about cheap like $2 freaking cheap or less. Like I got around the city of San Jose for literally never over $4. And in America, Uber costs literally $10 or more to just go like a few miles. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then when I got to Costa Rica, I had Uber on my phone, and I called an Uber ride when I first got there. And I looked at the price and I said, this has to be a mistake. It was $2.50, dude, $2.50. And I was looking at it and I'm like, that has to be a mistake. And it wasn't. That's how much it costs there. And it's crazy. It's so insane. Oh, by the way, Costa Rica is I think the only Central American country right now that allows Uber. I'm sure countries in South America allow it, but I think Costa Rica is the only Central American country that allows it. I don't even think Panama allows it. I think my friend told me that they don't. These glasses are really annoying, but sorry for the glare on the glasses, guys. My bad, not my fault. But yeah, Uber is in Costa Rica. The taxi drivers, they really don't like them, but what are you gonna do? It became legal. And because Uber became legal, Uber Eats also became legal, but I'll get into that on another slide, because my made up slides because I'm poor, these paper slides. Anyway, Uber is in Costa Rica. I highly, highly suggest you take Uber if you ever need to go anywhere. And I also highly suggest that you tip them because you're not paying anything for the Uber. And these people in Costa Rica, they don't make that much money. So you should tip them if they drive you. Especially because most Uber rides range from like 50 cents to like $3. I'm not exaggerating. Go down there and see, and you will find out. It is so cheap. It's mind-blowing. Like, it's mind-blowing. I can't get an Uber ride here in the States for less than $15, maybe 10 if I'm going like a couple miles, but it's so gross, man. Like, how do the price points change that much for the same company, just in another country? It's wild. And it makes you wonder, all these companies who set their prices, they're manipulating everybody, but that's another video. I'm not going to get into that. Uber is dirt cheap in Costa Rica. I highly suggest you get it. It's great. The next one, same thing about Uber. By the way, that's the wrong. And you sit in the front seat. This is something that's really, really interesting for foreigners to understand. In Costa Rica, the Uber drivers most of them want you to sit in the front seat, because if you sit in the back, then it's obvious that they're driving you via Uber or a rideshare service. And taxi drivers can get aggressive. They want you to sit in the front seat so it looks like you are a friend or a family member or whatever, so it doesn't look obvious that it's an Uber. And that's something that I totally understood. I'm like, man, I get that. And so when I got in my first Uber, I was putting my stuff in the back, and the guy, was telling me like, get up front. And I said, okay, I'm just putting my stuff in. I know. But they will ask you to sit in the front for that reason, because even though it's legal, the taxi drivers still get very mad. They don't like it. So, not all the time. They won't ask you all the time, but most of the time, just assume that you need to get in the front passenger seat with them, because that's just how it is. It's crazy and whatever, but it's also needed because of what, for their safety too. So yeah. Next, food delivery is on motorbikes all the time. They're on motorbikes. You will never see an Uber Eats or a PedidosYa driver in a car. They are always on motorbikes. And I'm not sure if it's like an Uber company protocol for Costa Rica, or if it's just because motorbikes are a lot cheaper, than cars. And the people who are doing these delivery drives aren't really well off, so they get bikes. But it's so interesting. And you would hear the bikes going down. If you're in a condo or a house by the street, you'd hear the bikes going down. They're like you would hear them all day long. Uber Eats and other food delivery services like Glovo and Pedidos, they are so popular. Like, they're so popular in San Jose. I couldn't believe it. There's so many. And it was like constant, like I was like, oh my God. And they're like, some of them have electric bikes, because they're trying to make a living for their family. And a lot of the Uber drivers, there's a section on the Uber Eats where it says, why do you Uber Eats? And a lot of them said, to support my family, to help my family. It's so sad that these people in Costa Rica don't make freaking crap. And yet it's turning into just like the rest of the world. The rich people are coming in, they're displacing the locals, and then the locals are struggling to make ends meet. It's just, but I made another video about that. Go check it out. I don't remember what it's called right now. I think it's called like, I don't know, but my thumbnail is of me like this, like in between the wealth gap. I think that's something what it's called that. But yeah, they're on motorbikes, and it's so interesting. So what they do with the food is they keep the food in a little cooler that's on the back of their motorbike, and they're just driving around with the cooler, like making deliveries. But yeah, it's crazy popular there. So if you're a person who doesn't really like to wander about when you first get somewhere until you get your bearings, Uber Eats is great. It's all over the place there, and you will not have a hard time finding anything. No crosswalks. And when I say no crosswalks, I mean 0 crosswalks. Like literally walk at your own risk in these streets. Like it's rough in these streets, y'all. Like no crosswalks in Costa Rica. So you have to either wait for the cars to be done passing or, wait for the light to change, but there's no crosswalks at all in San Jose. Walk at your own risk. Look both ways before you cross the street, literally, because the drivers in Costa Rica, like they won't stop for pedestrians. Like I think I've heard about a couple of incidents where a car hit somebody or almost hit somebody. So just don't even risk it. Just be patient. Don't be in a rush when you're walking, because literally ruthless. And the streets, a lot of them are kind of not really in the city, but outside the city are kind of rugged. So just be careful if you're there walking. Easter is a week-long event. So I was there, and I did not know this before I got there, but about a week after I arrived, it was Easter week, or they call it Semana Santa, I think. Semana Santos? Correct me. Semana Santa, I think, is what it's called. And they celebrate Easter all week long because it's a very Catholic oriented country. So what they do is a lot of the businesses have odd hours or they're completely closed. So if you go to Costa Rica, especially San Jose, during Holy Week, that's the translation, Holy Week, then stock up on groceries while you're there, because you might have a hard time finding places that are open. They take Holy Week seriously. At the end of Holy Week, I think they have like a parade, like they have all these events to cap off the week and celebrate actual Easter Day. But it was really interesting being there during that week. It was very quiet. No one was really doing much. But yeah, if you're a person who likes to go out and explore and be a tourist and do all the touristy things, expect things to be closed or have really weird hours, because they do not work that much during Holy Week. Ciao versus adios. And this was supposed to be like a piece. I don't know what that is, dude. What is that? I tried to draw something. It looks like a deformed rabbit. Something else with the language, kind of like buenas and buenos dias, that I found out is that a lot of Costa Ricans say ciao when they're saying goodbye to you, which is Italian, right? Ciao is Italian, instead of adios. And I learned that when I was shopping at stores, and the staff would say ciao or whatever. And I really want to know where that comes from, because I'm Italian. Ciao is Italian. And if you're Costa Rican or Latin American, let me know in the comments why you guys say ciao as a goodbye, because it's so interesting. It's interesting because they're incorporating a completely different language and culture into their own. And it fascinated me. I was like, oh, you said ciao? Okay. I usually say adios when I'm in a Spanish speaking country, but I started saying ciao to people too, because that's what they were doing. And I'm like, okay. But yeah, that was something that kind of threw me for a loop. I wasn't expecting it because, I know Spanish and stuff, but I did not know that about, and maybe it's just a Costa Rican thing. I've never heard them say that in Mexico. They've always said adios or hasta luego or whatever. Hasta mañana, but ciao. Why do you guys say that? I want to know, but I loved it because I love that word. It's just like ciao. It's perfect. It's a perfect word. But yeah, if you go there and you hear someone say ciao to you, they're not Italian. I mean, that's just, they say it. So anyhow, next, the Tica look. So, and by look, I mean, if, people from other countries, they go to a country expecting the people there to look a certain way. But I saw a lot of fair-skinned, red-headed, blonde Ticos and Ticas there, like light eyes. They looked like Europeans. And I'm like, wait, are they Costa Rican? And then I started talking to them and they were, and I'm like, that's so weird. So I got back to the condo and I looked it up because I never really encountered that before outside of San Jose. But apparently some Ticos have light hair, eyes, and skin, and there's a name for them. And I don't know if this is right because I looked it up online, so it might not be, but supposedly they're called matcha or macho. And they don't look like, the typical, Central American, like darker skin, darker hair, whatever. They look like Europeans, but they're not. And it's so, I wonder if that's like part of a descendant thing, like their family, they eventually descended down from wherever they came from or whatnot. But that kind of threw me for a loop a little bit because I was like, oh, like I thought they were tourists when I met this couple. I thought they were tourists. So I started talking to them and I come to find out they're locals, but they looked like Europeans. The girl had like really fair skin like I do, and she had like red hair. And I'm like, wait. And then the guy, he had lighter skin too. He still had dark hair, but his skin was like really like pale and pasty and his eyes were light. So I started talking to them and then I was like, oh, that's so interesting. So yeah, there's a whole like diverse group there who actually are locals. So that was really interesting. So when you go there, don't assume that like people with light skin are tourists and stuff, because a lot of the time they might not be, they might be locals, and that's just how, they were born. I was born this way, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Price negotiation. Yes, you can negotiate prices in Costa Rica, not on everything. Okay. Like don't go into a freaking grocery store with clearly labeled tags and say, that says 500 colones. No, I think I want it for 200 colones. Don't do that. It's already pre-labeled. I'm talking about negotiations for like services. Like you can negotiate prices on tattoos. You can negotiate prices on taxis. You can negotiate, stuff like that. Not set prices. Like don't go into a restaurant and get your bill and then be like, I don't think that's right. Can you bump like 1,000 colones off of that? You can't do that. You can try. If they really like you, they might, but the negotiating prices really works with taxis, services, not products. So like tourist attractions, if you want to negotiate the price and say, well, I don't think I can afford that at this time. Can you knock off so-and-so? And we will register for your, zip line or your hiking trail or whatever. They'll do that for you if you're nice about it. And if you speak Spanish, it's a bonus. If you speak Spanish, they'll really work with you. I learned that, and that's why I speak it. If you don't speak Spanish, then proceed at your own risk, because they might not. But yeah, you can negotiate stuff in Costa Rica, just not the pre-priced stuff. It's not gonna work. Last one, money material. And by that, I mean the material that their currency is actually made out of. And I wish I had brought a bill back with me. All I had were coins, because I try not to leave a foreign country with any of their currency, because what am I going to use it for? Nothing. Just a souvenir. So I don't have a bill that I can show you guys, but their currency in Costa Rica is actually made of plastic substrate, and that helps prolong its life and make it recyclable. So basically, it's so cool, because when I was holding the bill, I was like crumpling it up. I was doing everything with it. Like you can't rip it. You can't rip it like American freaking cheap ass money. Like what? Why do we print it on paper for anyway? It's not backed by anything. Freaking stupid. Anyway, yeah, their money is made of plastic substrate, and it's so cool because it's recyclable. The Costa Rica is a very environmentally conscious country. I think it holds 80% of the whole world's biodiversity, and it's so small. It's crazy. But yeah, their currency is it's weird, because when I first got it, I was like, oh, what is it? I thought it was fake. And I asked the guy, I'm like, this is okay? He said, yeah. But yeah, it feels like laminate plastic. It doesn't crumple, it doesn't rip, it doesn't break. but it's so cool. If you ever get a chance to like hold Costa Rican bills, just like dwell in the moment for a minute and be like, this is so cool. I've never seen that my entire life. And I wonder if other countries use that material or if it's just Costa Rica, because I've not been to a country where they do it like that. But yeah, that was really cool. But anyway, guys, that's it for today. I'm glad I made these little cards. Hopefully that helped you if you don't understand what I'm saying, and hopefully you do. But yeah, I have to get back to struggling with this application stuff and everything. But I just wanted to pop on and give you guys a rundown of my experience in Costa Rica. And if you ever go there, save this video and like this video so it can be in your saved videos, and revert back to it if you ever need the tips I gave you for your Costa Rica adventure. All right, guys, have a good day, and I will see you in my next video.